Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we are taking on Leo Shinryu fight. I have heard some people complain about this one because this is one of those fights that I think they're pushing a character almost a little bit too heavily. This is one of those fights where doing it with Leo and without are very, very different fights. This one really heavily pushes General Leo, right? So a couple of things that this fight is going to do. One of the big stopping points for this fight is the enemy has a very nasty force time, which lasts 20 turns, and it's one of these force times where they're going to heal a bunch every turn. So it is a force that you cannot wait out, like you've got to cancel it. Well, to cancel it, you have to do a force attack while delaying the enemy. And as far as I know, Leo might be the only character that actually does that. There could be another one out there. I guess I would have to think a little bit. But Leo is obviously one of the few characters, if not the only one, that can actually delay on a force. So the other thing is the enemy does charge very slow, and it's only one enemy, right? So you might be thinking, oh, maybe I could just do a delay strat, delay him the heck. Maybe just burn them down with like a Tifa or something like that, right? Well, the way they stop you from just doing a Tifa like bombardment and like one-shotting this guy is that he's got several thresholds, and on this threshold he's going to go into an enraged mode, and in the enraged mode you cannot deal HP damage to him. So it's a very annoying thing that they've been doing with a lot of bosses lately. They're trying to stop you from rushing these guys down in like a big burst phase, right? And so the only way to cancel the enrage mode and to be able to continue dealing damage is you have to do a 2-turn delay to the enemies, and breaking does not count. So basically Leo's 35 attack is like the easiest way to do that. And then his FR and his LD also delay by 2 or more turns. So any of those attacks work. So the problem is if I tried to go into this with Tifa and like really blow it up, I could set up, but what's going to happen is the first threshold is 69% that he does that. So what's going to happen is you're going to be in the middle of a Tifa burst. You're going to be at like 600% with like 5 turns of force left. He's going to hit 69%. And then all the rest of your damage is going to be wasted because you have no way to delay him in the middle of a Tifa burst phase. Now, you could give Tifa or a character like a call. So like a delay call like Quistis might work really well here, because then like on the spot, you could just do a little delay. But you're limited as to how many calls in the game can do a 2-turn delay, and do you have enough to be able to stop it? Because you got to stop, I think he has a total of 3 thresholds you have to stop with it. So having Leo is just easier because you have that in the party. You can very easily just do the 2-turn delay when you need it, and then canceling the force time. It's not like this fight, I don't feel like is as mean as some other fights like the Shinryu tree and things like that. But, you know, it does really heavily call for Leo. Now, I think there are some ways around it. Like if you're very careful with your calls, you delay at the right time, things like that, you might be able to get it done. But the problem is if you don't have Leo, you got to find a way to get this done before they hit a force time. Because if they hit a force time, man, you're going to be in trouble. And it's hard because all those thresholds are like gates you gotta unlock. Now, I suppose if you had every character in your party had a 2-turn delay call on, I just don't know if there are that many in the game. I would have to relook. But I know Quistis, I'm pretty sure both the Quistis' calls are at least 2-turn delays. So that should be good there. And then I know there are other delay calls out there, but deleting turns doesn't count because that's not really delaying, right? And I suppose you could run like other delay. You could run a different delay character in the party, and then you just have to make sure you somehow rush the fight down before they get to a force time, right? Which I think could be tricky, but I think with some management you could get it done without Leo. It just makes the fight a little bit trickier to navigate. So we're in our first force time, right? And you're going to find even with Leo on the team, it still isn't perfect because I actually get caught a couple times, I believe, in this fight where I'm on my last couple turns of force, and they hit a threshold, and Leo's like 2 characters away, and I have to waste like 2 turns of very high % force time to get to Leo's turn to delay him. So even with that, I probably, if I were smarter, I would have put some delay calls on my main DPS characters, so I could quickly call and delay, and then still like only waste 1 turn of force and not waste multiple turns. But we get through it just fine. This boss is pretty tanky too. This is it's like a 22-minute fight. Like, it did take me a while, for sure. It wasn't like my Mission Quest 3, which was actually very quick. That was only like a 10-11 minute fight. That one, you know, the bosses were super squishy. It was just about making sure to keep them paralyzed, and we got it done. So that video is up on my channel. If you had trouble with Mission Quest 3, I definitely see a lot of people maybe needing help with that one. That was a tricky fight, but if you have the right characters that deal with it, it actually wasn't that bad. But this boss here, he is a little bit tankier, has a lot of HP, but it is single target. It's one enemy, so you're only focusing on bursting one down. But yeah, I think the most annoying thing are these like thresholds. If he didn't have the shield like between thresholds, like if you could just HP damage him, it would be pretty. This boss would be really easy because you could just bum rush it with Tifa, do a big force time with launching and off turn damage, and just crush it like super easily, right? So I guess they needed to do that to kind of balance the fights so you can't do that. And I do think the devs are doing that more. They're trying to stop certain characters, certain things, so it's not like super easy. I think they did a good job with, well, on their end, they did a good job, I think, holding Rubicante back from a lot of fights, where he could have just been like abusable. He's been used in a nice handful of fights though, but like I said, I think overall they've had this theme where bosses will have thresholds where you just stop damaging them until something happens, and it's usually something that you can't just keep bum rushing through a burst phase with. Now, if you have the burst, my Leo's FR only, by the way, and I think FR only this fight was just fine. It wasn't that bad. But now if you have Leo burst, then you could do the normal strat where you just go in and try to bum rush it, because at least then in the middle of Leo's burst or force, he can just do a delay attack, get past the threshold, and just keep going. That one attack where he delays, though, still won't count, but it's still better than losing the entire force time, right? No matter what, like, you're going to lose a turn. So he's at the threshold, right? That's the yellow aura. So right now, these attacks actually won't do any damage. So I'm pretty much just doing attacks to upkeep buffs at this point. So Lion's Roar is more to upkeep his buff than to actually do damage. You still see the numbers, right? But you see his percent doesn't go down. It didn't actually damage him, right? All right, so then we have Rem up here. And here I think, yeah, I'm like, let's just swap in the Leo. I could have just done an attack, but I figured we might as well just use the swap turns because it was free, and we'll make sure we upkeep the buff on Leo. Give him that nice little extra buff there. Now here I had to double check. I didn't remember if shock delayed or not, and it doesn't. I had to make sure I do an attack that did a 2-turn delay. Well, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done the LD here, but that's the one I decided to do. Because at this time, I kind of assumed that this would actually deal damage because it's delaying. But I don't believe it does. We'll watch the HP. Yeah, he stays at 69. So unfortunately, dude, that 21 mil shot just went to waste. Now we can damage again, right? So now let's go back in. Let's do some damage. But unfortunately, man, yeah, that 20 mil shot just went completely to waste. Still got a 14 mil shot with Rem. With the 9 mil on top. I mean, dude, Rem's putting up a lot of damage there, right? And I'm like, all right, well, let's do the Brother Summon and actually pop off some damage with that, because I know that's going to be good damage. So there's an 18 mil shot. You can see this boss is tanky. He's eating like a lot of 20 mil shots here, and we're not even to 50%. And this part gets really annoying at the end, because the last two thresholds are really close, and they're both the yellow aura. So, like, you've got to, get to that first one, do the delay attack, and then you're going to get to the other one really fast. And you have to try to delay him again. Now, Rem is nice in this fight, actually, because she can swap turns and bring Leo up. So if it happens to be her turn, it is nice that she can swap Leo up, and that was kind of my thought, was just to always have access to Leo so I can do that 2-turn delay when I need it. So, and I had to bring out my girl Rem because I haven't been able to use her outside of her first fight because they had, what was it? So I was able to use her in Dimension's End. But outside of that, I haven't been able to use her because these mission quests, are locking out Dagger. Like, you're not allowing Dagger. So this was really my first chance since her own Dimension's End fight to be able to use her. So I'm like, yeah, we got to get my girl Rem out here for sure. And then Core's just always a nice plug-in as a nice follow-up character, right? So I'm like, all right, we can cure up a little bit, get a little bit of force charging going. Because, like, I kind of didn't want him to get to his force. Now, what it is Leo still has one force packed in there. And I'm not confident enough I'm going to finish the boss off. So I think what I decide to do is I just do like a core force time just as like a filler to like keep getting the damage down. And I want to get past that second threshold before I use another Leo force, and I want to cancel out their force time because I don't want to be in a situation where I use Leo force too early or I echo with it And then I get to the point where the enemy's really low, but if I can't beat them to their force time, then he's just going to heal up a ton, and it's going to be like game over for me. Because he's going to heal up so much without another force to back it. I'm not going to be able to keep up with the healing, and the enemy's just going to win at that point. So I have to be very careful about saving that Leo force time, right? Alright, so Rem here, I decide let's just use a Rem burst phase because I don't have Leo burst. So in this case, I can kind of just use a filler burst to just renew a BT effect. So I'm like, I could do core or Rem, but I'm like, let's do Rem because now what I do is I just spam cure through this to get my force gauge up, like super fast, right? So I thought this was decent. I'm going to renew her BT effect. So I thought, why not? We do still want to get some damage. So we do the last 2 attacks with refreshing the LD, and then we're going to do our FR attack as well. And then I can use our FR attack to pull Leo up if I want Leo up, or I can keep Core up. I decided to keep Core up. In reality, I think maybe I should have brought up Leo first, but this was fine. Okay, so 1.8, not bad. Like, Rem, like, if you add in the follow-up damage, like, her damage is actually really good. Been very impressed with Rem. Love this animation. Machina coming down from the heavens, just carrying her. Her eyes turn demonic, which is super awesome. Rem's going to be nice. I'm going to try to use Rem in as many videos as I can. I'm not going to lie. I like Rem a lot. And I did kind of promote her a bit, so I got to make sure to show everyone how good she is. I got to make sure to do that. My girl Rem. So she's probably just going to take that slot of like Aerith or Garnet. Like that's kind of the slot I've been using, right? So I'm going to try to feature Rem as much as I can. Like I said, the mission quests have been annoying because they haven't allowed Dagger yet. But the moment I can use a Dagger, I'm going to get Rem in there for sure. I'm not sure how many mission quests there are. I suppose I could go back to the community slide and actually look at that to see how many of these we're getting. But it's kind of nice. It's kind of like Dare to Defy in a way with just like more restrictions. And the mission quests I don't think are locked out overall. We'll see. But, you know, until they repeat a weapon type, I won't know if like the characters are locked out for the whole thing or if it's just lockout for the 3 fights. We'll have to see. But, if it is, and like we get Fist again and I want to unlock Rubicante, I can very easily go back and do that, right? But who knows? They might just make it so they never overlap weapon types. I don't know. Depends on how many we got coming. And I did notice with the mission quest too, they're kind of like promoting characters like ahead of time. So like this one, I think, the current one, I think is promoting Shantado. Because you notice like they never actually fit the weapon types of the current banner. So, like, the one before had heavy swords, so I was kind of promoting Celis and Leo, like characters like that, right? So, I think that's what they're trying to do, is they're using the mission quest, giving it to you a little bit early so you get frustrated with it, and then if you don't beat it by the time those characters come out, because I guarantee there's going to be players who don't have Fusuya built, who I used in my run, that are going to be frustrated and want to get it done, and they're going to know the strat from my video. They're like, well, I need Shantado then. If I can't get Fusuya, let's go and get Shantado, and I'm sure there's characters that are going to build her for that fight. But once again, I don't ever recommend summoning a character just to beat a fight. Now, if you have the resources and you think it's going to be fun to have the character, definitely go for it, but don't do it just for the fight. Shantado, the only reason I might go in for her FR is just because I already have her BT, so it's a convenient way to just get a fully built character, and I now have extra BT materials, so I feel like I do have room to green her if I want, and I might actually do it. Shantado could be fun. Alright, so we hit a nasty threshold. All these attacks are going to do no damage. He's going to just sit there at 39. I found, though, other than, like, dealing with the enraged mode in the force time, like, the boss wasn't really dangerous. Like, I never really felt in danger with this guy. It was just understanding how to deal with the kit, right? Now, there was a big mistake. I used Cure forgetting that it was instant turn. I was like, oh, I just want to pass turn with Rem. Well, at least I can force charge with it. And it's like, oh no, doesn't work like that because the force charge is an instant turn. So I did waste a turn there. Very unfortunate because he was in enrage mode, so I didn't get any of that damage. So I'm going to go ahead and delay again. Once again, this damage isn't going to count. So I kind of mismanaged that a bit. But now we got it subdued. But yeah, we wasted some damage there. We're already down to turn 3. And what's going to happen here, my goal is I'm going to have to do another force time, right? But my hope here is that I can at least get to the next threshold so I can get that taken care of before I start my last force, right? So there, you know, could have been tempting to echo, but I knew I wasn't going to kill this guy. So I had to save the force. But we'll go ahead and throw down the 2-turn delay. The other thing you're going to notice with Leo too is that he is delaying through a locked turn. So that is nice. The enemy, it does have locked turns and he can still delay through it. So I did forget to mention that on my character guide, but that is nice that he's delaying through a locked enemy. All right, so we got him down to 30%, so that's good. So now at this point, I'm kind of like willing to just let him get to his force time, and then knowing that I can just cancel it with Leo, and then if I somehow don't still kill him, I know that I've got a long ways to go before they're going to get into another force time, right? So here's the last enrage. And now it's just like we got to get to a Leo turn. Boulder launch. Yeah, just very unthreatening. And it could be because Oath of Absolute Defense is doing a good job as well. But I don't think this guy ever even does an HP attack to me, to be honest. We just kind of sail through just fine once, you know, we understand how we got to delay and do all that stuff, right? But yeah, I could definitely see people breaking out the Quistis call. Maybe even using Quistis in the party if they're desperate. But her damage isn't going to be good. You really got to carry with the other 2 characters if you bring Quistis here. And this is a friendless run, so obviously a friend could help deal with this as well. Alright, so we're going to get our last delay in. And now I know that we're good. There's no more rage mode. So at this point, I'm like, alright, let's just let them get to their force. I'm going to kind of cure through here and kind of force charge myself to try to catch up. And then it's just to get into my force to kind of break them down. So I might fast forward at this point a little bit. Because we're just charging, right? Charging, charging, charging. We can see our gauges are about even now. I just keep our gauges even. And then, alright, I'll let him get into force here. So he did do a howl, which just delayed Rem, which, like, okay, no big deal, whatever. He does have a buff on, which I didn't actually look to see what that buff is, but it isn't anything that drastically affects the fight. So there I'm checking, like, my oath on my characters, seeing where they're at. I decide to Lion's Roar just to refresh that buff. But yeah, the boss did, I think he healed for like 2 mil or something. It's a pretty big heal, so you don't want to let him just keep healing. So now I'm like, alright, let's go into Leo Force. This should cancel out, and then we should be kind of good to go from here. And then we delay. The enemy is being very aggressive here as well. Alright, so we push back. The nice thing is with the enemy being aggressive, if I decide that, like, I don't want to, you know, if I decide not to delay with Leo, I could just let the enemy attack and let core kind of pop off a little bit. Which is also a decent strategy you can do. But look at Rem getting 80% on the force condition. It's a very nice force condition. It's just attack the precision strike target and attack a single target. And the nice thing is if there is only one enemy, AoE characters will trigger all that because it is still considered single target because you don't have other targets to hit. So it is really nice when there's just one target. I was making sure he had precision strike on, which he does. So with Rem, I'm like, all right, well, let's do the LD. Let's bring out the big daddy damage now as best as I can. So yeah, 2 mil with Rem there, but then you count the follow-up with it. And the follow-up is what? 2.5 mil? Like, holy cow, Rem's doing damage. She just did like over 4 mil on that. Her follow-up was stronger than the freaking LD attack. Alright, and then reapplying Oath of Absolute Defense to Leo. Now this is a nice turn here. The enemy doing some all attacks, getting double cored. So just core coming through with like over 3 mil damage there. The swoop is just never threatening, just does a little bit of brave damage, no big deal. Core's going to come in and combo again. And then with Leo, I'm just trying to check my buffs, check everybody out. And yeah, I just decided to do call for Precision Strike just to make sure that that is upkept. Still 7 mil, they're not too bad. And I'm like, yeah, I might actually Reaper's Gale here because Core's gonna, you know, I don't, you know, with Leo without the BT, it's like, yeah, I mean, Reaper's Gale with Leo's BT is actually very good because Leo would follow up. Dude, this boss would really melt with Leo's BT. I got to look at his BT in his character guide because I found a friend that had it. And dude, his follow-ups are really strong. Leo is a follow-up character. To me, he seems kind of similar to Noctis, where he's like a very good DPS in his own right. But you could also use him as a complementary follow-up character. Man, he can put up some work with those follow-ups for sure. He can put in some work. So yeah, we're down to 2 turns. It's like, man, this boss is tanky. We're just trying to finish him off. But I know for sure, like, at 10%, we can finish him before he gets to his force time, right? So we still got 2 turns here. This would be a great spot to echo if I had one, but I don't. I'm all out. So let's Master Blade here. This is going to be good damage. A nice little delay. So there, yeah, 15 mil, dude, on the Master Blade. Very good with the delay. Last attack here, so I'm like, yeah, let's LD, get the most damage I can. And he won't quite be dead here, but pretty dang close. There's 14 mil there. Yeah, 2%. So then we basically just attack through and finish him off. Yeah, the Reaper scale. We'll just cut ahead here a little bit. At 1%, it does take a little bit. But I think Rem right here on the swap turns does it with the follow-up. Nope, not quite. And then, yeah, Leo's nice for that delay, for sure. If you like delay strats, definitely works out. And I'm like, dude, he's got to be dead, dude. This last 1%, we've been attacking him forever. I think it's here. I'm pretty sure it was on a Rem follow-up that I finished him. Oh, yeah, right there. The Siphon Delta, so on the EX. Only 600k, not a ton of damage, but you count in the follow-up with it, it does good damage. So anyways, guys, there you go. There is the general Leo Shinryu fight. Not too bad if you have Leo. Once again, without Leo, I think this could be a very difficult fight. Kind of feels similar to Edgar in a way, where like the Edgar fight was really calling for Edgar. This one's really calling for Leo, but if you're willing to grab him, LD only could be iffy. His FR is really important for canceling the force, so I think you really do need the FR if you want to do it. But anyways, guys, you can let me know how this fight went for you. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.